On today's show, we get another look at the X-Men Dark Phoenix trailer. Rami Malek is now the next person to try to attempt to kill James Bond. Kevin Feige officially confirms that they are using James Gunn's script for Guardians 3. And Jordan Peele's Candyman remake finally finds its hook-handed killer. All of that and more today on Let's Talk Movies. Hello everybody and welcome back to Let's Talk Movies. My name is Joker, upon my amazing co-host Alex Splash.
How you doing?
And we've got a lot of movie news today, and I'm so excited that we actually have a full list of stuff to talk about. But let's kick it off with our first topic here being the new trailer for Dark Phoenix. What were your initial thoughts right off the bat?
I didn't see the trailer until a little after it came out. I was at work all day today. So, busy morning, got home, got to sit down and watch it. And I was blown away because I did not have super high expectations going into this movie. The trailer we got, was that last year?
It was about I think October of last year.
October, November-ish of last year. When I saw that, I was all on board. That looked like a fresh, fun take on Dark Phoenix. It's not a straight adaptation, and it's not completely off the rails like X3 was. I'm here for it. I want to see what's coming next. The mystery that they left in the trailer with, there's some grim situation going on there.
There's some speculation going on.
Yeah, I want to see how that plays out. But it just looks so explosive and cosmic and fun, and yeah, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I wasn't really excited when they were like, okay, we're gonna redo the Dark Phoenix saga, and I was like, okay. I didn't really care for it to start with, but the more I watch it, the more I'm like, okay, I can kind of get behind this. Now I realize that Dark Phoenix is like a big part of the X-Men series, so that's something I'm really excited for. And now watching the first trailer, I was like, okay, this is great. I love the younger cast. A majority of them are just fantastic. And with this second trailer coming out, when I watched it, I felt terrified. I'm like, I'm getting the same kind of vibes I got when I watched Logan. I was like, this isn't necessarily X-Men, but as it is like a real powerful story that they're going to try to tell on screen. Which leads me to my next question. When you said you brought it up as like X3, do you think that it's going to be, obviously it is, but do you think it's going to be a better adaptation than what we saw in X3, The Last Stand?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's going to be better. Even just to the point of the powers seem to be more in line with what I wanted to see out of X3. I wanted to see this like Dark Phoenix, Jean on a rampage, like losing her mind kind of battle, and you got that in the trailer.
So you got a little bit of that at the very end there where she's like floating, she's got like train wrapping around her.
Yeah, she's got like the cosmic awesome ability, what did she say, embrace, you can have the power of a god.
Yeah, it's like you can have the power of the god if you embrace it and all that, and like who knows what that means. It's probably going to fry her brain or something.
Yeah, I like that inner turmoil. I like that control battle that we saw Jean having where she's in the alleyway. Why did you make me do that? She was my friend. Like, I really enjoyed seeing the emotional impact into your statement. Like, it doesn't seem like X-Men because it's a little heavier.
It is X-Men, obviously, but it doesn't feel like it's like, oh, we're the X-Men. It's more like, we got to stop that.
There's a lot of that, though, in the source material that they really play into, and that's where X3 bungled it. It did feel like the X-Men got to stop this weird phantasm thing. Yeah, Bryan Singer.
Something to that degree. But you're just giving me all these layups for my points. But that leads into another good point. The whole thing with Mystique that you're mentioning. She was my friend. Obviously, it's looking like Mystique is supposedly going to die. I don't know. Apparently, Jennifer Lawrence wants out of the series. She doesn't want anything to do with it. I don't even think it would matter at this point because
that's pretty convenient because it's over with.
Because this is like pretty much the end of like a lot of people are surprised that Fox is even releasing this movie because of all the problems they had and the stopping and the starting with shooting, and then it was like put on hold and they went back to shooting, and the fact that they're just releasing it for a theatrical release. Apparently, a lot of people are surprised, especially since we're getting so close to the Disney merger.
I'm not surprised because I think this was going to be their final hurrah on the X-Men front. I always thought that this, more than New Mutants or any of these other random X-Men properties that were just getting greenlit there towards the end, where it's like we were supposed to be getting the Kitty Pryde thing. Like there was a lot of stuff that was in rumors to just be like, hey, that sounds like a good idea. Push it while we've got it. I never thought that was the way to go, though I am kind of excited if they do still somehow manage to pull that one off. That'd be interesting. But that being said, the way New Mutants is developing, probably not going to see that. Or if we do, it's going to be like, hey, the Disney merger is happening, and also just take the Hey Hulu.
This is not canon in any way, but here you go. This is fan film now.
No, I can see it's definitely going to remain its canon status if it comes out, but it's because it never had like, or at least it never seemed to have any type of major storyline pull.
Yeah.
Like it was kind of its own separated story. So like, yeah, it could be a part of the canon on Hulu because why are we spending like $20 million on marketing a movie that you've had to reshoot 9 times and it looks like you don't have that much confidence in?
Yeah, I think New Mutants just needs to be scrapped. Start over. Let Disney do it if they want to. They get to it eventually. I imagine they're going to probably draw this out through Phase 4. We're going to see some X-Men. We're going to get some Fantastic Four. And it's just going to kind of slowly get into what they have left. And especially since, this is the end of this X-Men, the Fox franchise. I'm amazed it's gone this long. And I'm happy that it's gone this long because it's really cool to see, the first one came out in 2000. And now here we are ending, and by the end of 2019, that's going to be it. 19 years of X-Men. Shockingly enough, I never thought it would actually go past the Wolverine that we had in, I think, was that 2013?
Yeah, it was 2012, 2013.
So I'm wondering, is that they're just going to obviously they're going to have to, well, they don't have to, but I would think they'd want to put some kind of an end to the franchise.
Yeah, that's why I thought.
Is Jean going to just go complete full Dark Phoenix and just kill everyone?
I can see them resolving it with a more peaceful style since this is the end of their universe. If they decide to go out full Thanos mode and just end it in oblivion, whatever, that's cool. I'm here for it. Give me that wild, weird.
See, that's what I thought would be funny. As I mentioned to you earlier that, if they had an end credit scene of they're all in the mansion, all of a sudden they just all dusting away. Because, and not necessarily, in timeline-wise, it would make no sense, but it's just, Thanos snapping away Fox's X-Men universe just to be recreated in their MCU.
That'd be interesting.
That'd be cool, but everyone would be like, what is this?
But my thought is, the one thing that I can say about these movies, for all of their issues across, was it 9 of them that we're coming up on?
This is going to be the 10th film.
This is the 10th? Okay, so across these 10 films, they've never been afraid to embrace weird. They've gone, 1, 2, and 3, maybe they were skittish on how far they could go with it. With the reset, Days of Future Past, First Class, Apocalypse, that era, they took it all the way to just strange.
They took it to hell and back.
I love it. I love the fact that they were like, you know what? The playing it safe didn't work. Let's just go for it.
And I'm
the Wolverine
curious,
franchise did that too, in a way, with the nuclear stuff, and they really went all in on Wolverine.
But I'm curious as to what that's going to be because, supposedly Hugh Jackman is done with Wolverine. There's nothing else for him to do. Yet he's had cameos in every single movie, even if he's the main role or not. He had a small appearance in not Days of Future Past, First Class, and he had one in Apocalypse. And obviously he had main roles in the rest of them. So I'm wondering, is he going to appear in this at all just to keep the joke going, or is he just really done and they're not going to see him again?
It wouldn't surprise me if he sits this one out knowing that it's the end, because he gave his
final hurrah.
Logan was the end all be all. It's a fantastic movie, the best X-Men movie, unquestionably in my mind.
It's my number 1.
Yeah, and it's not close in my book either.
Yeah.
But that being said, I'm also not a huge fan of these films. The casting just never did for me on either version. McAvoy's great, Fassbender's great. Sophie Turner, is that her name, playing Jean? Is that the one?
The younger one?
Yeah.
I think so, yes.
Okay. So they're good, but for whatever reason, it just never fit in my mind. They just kind of looked like babies compared to what I was expecting to go forward with.
It is kind of what they're going for just because, it is supposed to be set well in the past.
It is well in the past, but they looked like just...
I agree with you. Jean looks like she's a baby.
Yeah,
she does look like she's 14.
Yeah. But not to discredit them, they've done good work. The writing for them maybe could have been better. Apocalypse probably isn't the best way.
Apocalypse is weird.
Yeah. I liked the movie, actually. Surprisingly, it was one of the only ones that I go back and regularly want to rewatch other than Logan. But yeah, that's... If they embrace it all in flames and they just end it and go that way, I'll be super happy.
The X-Men will not return.
X-Men forever, and then it just fades away.
That would be something. But I'm excited for the movie. I'm definitely going to want to see it. I will buy it on Blu-ray. That is set to hit theaters this year, June 7th. That's a safe release date. That's going to avoid Infinity War. I don't really think it has anything. It really has to fight up until July when Spider-Man comes out.
Yeah, Far From Home.
But that's pretty much all of it. And Oh, I think the movie's going to do well. I'm excited for it. But up next, we got something you're really excited for.
Absolutely.
Rami Malek supposedly going to play the new villain in the next Bond 25.
Yeah, so Bond 25, we're coming up on that now. We're locked in on a lot of details. Daniel Craig finally committed. He's back. We know what we're getting ourselves into.
Is this his last one?
I would think yes, absolutely.
Because we've heard that before.
He's nearly quit twice, and that's why I think it was so important that they got him back for 25, because he's been one of my favorite Bonds. Like, up front, I have a weird taste when it comes to the Bond movies. I don't usually love the ones that everyone else is like 5-star instant classic Bond movies.
Do you like Pierce Brosnan?
It's just okay. But in some regards, I think Daniel Craig changed the character for the better, more so than a lot of the recent guys. Just off the fact that he brought a new energy to Bond in the way that he's like, when he came into it, everyone was like, oh, Daniel Craig, this could be really good. And then Casino Royale, it hits. Like, that was a solid film. And then Quantum of Solace, whatever, it's just kind of in the middle, kind of muddied water situation. But I really think that Skyfall was one of the best Bond movies ever, particularly backed by Javier Bardem's Raul Silva, the main villain antagonist of that movie.
Okay, yeah.
I think he's got a good, just odd flair to him that really set him up as the tortured mind of MI6 kind of person. And I think Rami Malek brings a lot of that same texture and energy to a villain. And I think that could be really, really good, especially a younger kid.
Right.
Where Javier Bardem was a little older. He's contextually, in the Bond universe, age is kind of just all over the place with the recasts and all of that stuff.
Right. So let's talk about that. Rami Malek, he's a well-known actor. He's not one of the household names that everyone would know. But him just being a recent Oscar winner, do you think he doesn't necessarily need the exposure, but in that sense, is it good exposure for the film to have him on this cast because he is an Oscar winner?
I think it can only do good things for him, but even without the Oscar, I think everyone knows who Rami Malek is at this point. Whether you're watching Mr. Robot or Bohemian Rhapsody, at some point you've seen this guy.
The museum.
If you've seen him, you know him. He's got that distinguished face feature, which I think is also plays really well into the Bond universe. Mads Mikkelsen kind of also has the same facial thing going on a little bit. They have a similar face shape.
Right, and we've seen before that he can do kind of like a creepy role, really, especially with his role in the game Until Dawn.
Yeah, he did Josh in Until Dawn.
Right.
And he killed it in that. If they go a little more psychopathic, kind of psychotic guy, sure, that tends to play well.
I mean, I think he'd be great as the Joker as well.
I think he could
It'd
get
be
away
something
with that.
interesting, but I think, for a younger villain, I think, I don't know what the premise would be, but I think he could do a good job, especially good for the image of the film, as well as it would just fits with his personality, because he has that aura that he could play a really good villain in a movie, especially now being a Bond villain. That's just textbook perfect. It's a classic style of a villain, It's like, before I kill you, Mr. Bond, let me show you what I'm going to use to blow up the world. And, something like that. It's not, I'm just going to plunge the world with, here's the Ebola virus. I'm going to get everyone sick and they're all going to die. Nothing to that extreme, I would think. But, of course, I haven't seen all of the Bond films, so I imagine it's very extremely elaborate schemes to, destroy the planet or something.
You're crossing over territories with some of the Bond movies. They get into weird, almost parody kind of movies when you're getting Moonraker level, where it was kind of a Star Wars knockoff. There was a laser fight.
Let's blow up the moon.
They were in space. It was all just all over the place. But then something like Casino Royale and even Skyfall to a degree were a little more contained. Raul Silva did unleash hell on London. MI6 got blown up. They had to move headquarters and all of that. He had a grand scheme, but it was very targeted and very personal to him and Bond and that cast. Whereas I think, Raimi, you could get away with another just psychopath, whether it is personal or if it is just kind of he's a pawn for Spectre or whoever, a new player in the game, whatever they're going to go with, which I think for Bond 25, they're going to do something classic. That's what makes sense to me in this situation.
Do you think it'll be an original story, or are they going to rehash an older one?
It'll be an original story, but I think it'll play upon things that were already known to us in the Bond universe.
Okay.
They kind of did that with Spectre. They tied some stuff back together with Christoph Waltz. I won't say much more about that, but if you haven't seen it, go watch that. You'll understand what I'm saying. I think it could be another one of those situations, and I think that could fare well into ending Daniel Craig's run. Because I think if you can give him a very solid familiar villain again, he bested in a way Christoph Waltz. He comes out on top against something that we should have seen coming from a long point away. I didn't actually expect it going into the movie, but as it started playing out, I was like, okay, yeah, this makes a lot of sense.
I mean, hey, if it works, right?
And I'm excited though. Raimi, whether he brings something new or something familiar, I think he's just going to make it work. He's a great worker. He's a great actor. He's done amazing roles, and this is just another chance for him to expand that category.
I think it's definitely going to look great on that resume.
Yeah, that's just another thing.
It's just going to add to, like, I can see him going to just bigger franchises because of this. This is like his foot in the door to go into a much larger world of like the well-known films.
I think he's already gotten that with Bohemian Rhapsody. I think that was
his
fair. Flagship.
Yeah.
But going into something like this, yeah, it's just another A-list franchise that you could say I had my effect on. And like I said, I think he's the perfect blend of creepy but fun and like believable, and so it's gonna be good, and I'm all here for Daniel Craig's last run, because like I said, he has been one of my favorite Bonds. I'm sad to see him go, but I'm hoping for an explosive exit for the man.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think there's much more left on the film. So up until we get some trailers and some more footage, we'll keep you guys updated. Mm-hmm. But up next is one that we're both excited for. Kevin Feige has confirmed that they are using James Gunn's script for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Still no James Gunn, though. Thoughts?
I didn't expect James Gunn to come back, especially since he's locked in at DC right now. So really, I just want to see them push forward. Go find a new guy. Don't use somebody in Marvel's house. If Taika's not going to do it, that was my only choice. Though, I don't know if there's been any comment by the guy who did Ant-Man. I don't remember his name right offhand. But he has a style that I think could fit that universe if somebody in-house is going to do it. But really, just forge out, go find somebody that you trust that's already, not stepping into, somebody else's toes, like don't get another Marvel director who, like Taika said, like it's coming into James's house and just...
And like you said, with a lot of the directors like not wanting to touch his script because, that's James's house, I'm not touching that. Like Taika Waititi, he said he didn't want to do it. What does this save Guardians of the Galaxy 3, knowing that, yes, they do have his script and supposedly most of the cast is fine with it, depending on where it takes place before or after Endgame? What does this actually save this third film in this perfect trilogy of movies, knowing that they're at least using a script, but James Gunn is not the one behind the camera?
I think it doesn't save the film, because I don't think the film was ever really in huge trouble, because the cast seems to have backed off of that edge of like, we're not doing it unless James is attached to it. Because right now, for anyone who doesn't know, Dave Bautista did just rejoin the WWE, but it's probably going to be for like a 3-month run, if anything. It's going to be short-lived up until probably a WrestleMania blowout with Triple H, and then he'll probably disappear again for a while. It would surprise me if he sticks around, but if he does, he should have the time. Like, Guardians isn't going into production for a while now. We know that it's been moved off the slate, but we have a script. Now it is, let's find the director who can handle that script with the care that it needs, because there are some factors stacked against it. When you don't have James in the picture, you're already putting the film at a disadvantage. And the fact that you're not been quick to lock up a director, not that you necessarily needed to be, but the longer that you hold it out, it does start to put more question in the movie.
Yeah.
But I would prefer them take their time, find the right guy, and then let everybody clear their schedules. Let's reestablish a date for this thing. Let's get a director on board, and then we'll start talking about what the movie's going to do, projection-wise. Is it saved? How many questions do we have when there are more numbers involved?
Okay. Just out of curiosity, odds of James Gunn being reinstated to direct the film?
I don't see it happening, just because Disney doesn't seem like that type of company to me. I don't think they're going to renege on that idea.
Right, and I mentioned it earlier, and I still love the theory. Jay Washington, member of the Collider family, great guy, great show. He had a theory, and I just loved it. He said that since James Gunn is now attached to the Suicide Squad, if they film that movie and it does phenomenal, it does way more than they were expecting, is Disney going to come around and be like, hey, James, we're sorry about what happened. You know, we still love you because Marvel was wanting him. Marvel and Kevin Feige were fighting to keep him, but Disney was just like, absolutely not. Get him out the door. We want nothing to do with him. So that theory that if that movie were to do well, and then Disney would be like, okay, we really need you to do this movie because you know, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't see a world where that could happen unless that movie like is astronomically amazing and they literally can't find anyone to direct the movie because they don't want to touch it.
I still don't see it happening even after, which I think Suicide Squad 2 will do a good job for a lot of the factors that are currently casting shadows over Guardians 3. People are going to be excited to see James back at the helm. They're going to be excited. Margot Robbie announces that she's, back in the script of the rumor that was floating around that she was out. Was kind of killed. Though we do know Will Smith isn't coming back. When they start putting together a new cast, once we get more names attached to it, that hype of, oh, James Gunn is going to be working with so-and-so and Margot Robbie, it's gonna start building that back up, and people are going to be more curious about that movie. And the first one, even though it wasn't great, also did pretty well financially. So when they pull it back together, I think it can only be positive for the DC side of things. But because it's such a positive over there, one, they should keep them locked in my opinion. And two, I just really don't see a world unless the opinion around James Gunn changes in the next couple of years. When we come back to look at this, if the trolling voices that really got him caught up in it in the first place have died down, maybe we come back around. But there's still this like vitriol from a particular part of the audience. It would be hard for me to think that Disney would go back and be like, hey, no, man, sorry, it was a giant misunderstanding that cost you a franchise that meant everything. Sorry, I
mean, it would be great, but yeah, I don't see it happening. Still nothing on a release date. This movie is going to be on the back burner for quite some time. I personally don't see it coming into fruition until 21 or 22.
I would say 2022 is probably...
Yeah, they're probably going to push it back so they can get the fourth phase established before bringing Guardians back in to either finish out what was supposed to be in phase 3, or if it's playing into as a newer cast that's going to play in phase 4.
Well, I could also see 2021 if they do find a director this year.
If they find a director this year and the story makes sense to go in before they start rolling out the newer stuff, then yes, I'm on board for 2021.
Yeah, I think 2021 could be reasonable, and pretty early 2021 if they can just lock somebody down. That, I think, is going to be the recurring issue. Is I'm sure there are people out there that want to touch the film. They want to get involved. But especially as soon after that fallout happened, it would look a little shitty to be like, hey, I know you guys have an opening. Sorry, James.
Yeah.
So I think once this thing settles out a little bit, we kind of clear the dust on it, and more people can start freely expressing that, or even if it's just somebody who's already interested that's turned it down for now, could come back and talk to James and be like, hey, man, we got to make this thing eventually, right?
Yeah.
I think that could be the path it goes as well. I don't think they're going to necessarily get like Taika to do it, but somebody in the Marvel family could just be like, I know I said I didn't want to do it before, but the script is just too good to sit on the shelf. And it's James's script, so it's not like we're drastically changing course here. So I think that could also be an option. But yeah, if they're going to get it made by 2021, it probably needs a director and start putting the pieces back together pretty quickly.
All right. Yeah, great. I mean, I agree with you 100%. But with our last story for the day, let's close it out with a completely switch ending to this, like completely off the rails, completely different from what we've been talking about. They finally have Jordan Peele's new iteration of Candyman has finally found someone to take the role of the killer. We have, let me see if I can get this right, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II to play the Candyman in this spiritual reboot to the series.
So I'm not a big horror guy, but I did see this this kind of reemergence of Candyman and get really excited because it's the one franchise I remember watching and being like, I don't know anything about this character. I have no idea what's going on, but I'm so entertained.
Yeah, I watched the first one, I think when I was about a sophomore in high school, so a few years back. I see all these movies a lot later than everyone. My mom was very protective of that, and she's like, you don't want to watch this stuff. I don't want you watching it. It's scary. And, of course, naturally, I'd watch it a lot later when she wasn't even aware of it. And I'm like, this isn't going to, like warp my mind, Mom. Now I'm, like, obsessed with a lot of these horror movies just because the story is really good, I'm not going to go crazy or anything. But This is a spiritual sequel to the original 1992 film. And I remember, like, when I was saying, well, like, watching that movie, it's pretty messed up.
Yeah, I was probably 10 years old when I saw it, and I was still just a little too young to be like,
I was
happening?
about 16 or 17 at the time, and I was just like, I don't feel comfortable watching this. It's like, I guess now I understand where my mom was coming from in a lot of cases, but there are some movies. A lot of the Texas Chainsaw franchise gives me that really uncomfortable.
Yeah,
I shouldn't be watching this.
This is
kind of
gross.
thing.
I wasn't meant to see this.
Yeah,
kind of
and there's a lot of scenes in Candyman. They're just like, okay, like there's that whole like out of body experience where one of the characters wakes up in someone's house. The dog's been beheaded. Her baby's dead in the cradle. I'm like, I don't know if I should keep watching this. Like, I just don't know if I can actually handle the torment that I'm getting here, but I can't turn it off. And now to get a spiritual sequel that I guess is supposed to just take reign of what happens after the original. I don't even know, like, how would you call that? With a spiritual reboot, is this going to be something like they're doing with the Terminator franchise, where they're kind of like retconning other movies in the series to be like, here's how it should have gone?
I think this will be what I would call a course correct, where you're like, all right, Candyman, it is good. Like, we got on it.
Yeah, I mean, like the first movie was great.
Yeah, and this one, I think, especially Jordan Peele at the helm, it's just going to be another thing where we have a clear vision, we have a clear direction where this thing should have gone, and now let's put it right back on that track, which I think is what Terminator is doing currently.
Yeah. With
their reboot. What's the movie called again?
Terminator Dark Fate.
Dark Fate. So I could definitely see Dark Fate and this movie sharing that same energy of like, we got off the beaten path a little bit. We should just... And there we go.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree. Do you think... And I have... This question kind of goes for a lot of things. New guy coming in to take the helm as Candyman. Do you think that he should try to play off the original, or do you think he should try to make it his own without, like, completely, like, dropping off? So, like, Heath Ledger made the Joker his own, but Jared Leto made it his own and kind of went off the deep end.
I honestly don't think that was Jared Leto's fault as much as it was the writing and character development.
But I mean, you see what I'm coming from.
But yeah, I do understand where you're going and the idea that he should embrace it and make it his own. But that character is pretty iconic.
Like, so yeah, make it your own. Just don't change it.
He's a little bit of a cult classic situation where you're like, so many people still love this film. So you do have to keep some elements and remain faithful to what made it work in the first place. But at the same time, it's not 1992 anymore. Our expectations and visualizations of characters. We can do more with effects and things like that to where you can really go into a character now, especially one this gruesome and over the top, and still retain great, just personal, human energy in it. And I think that's where it needs to lie. You need to make this thing like, this guy... He's just here to torment the shit out of you.
Yeah.
And if you can really feed into that and keep that same spirit, I think you'll be okay.
Plus, if this does well, maybe we can see another iteration of Candyman's daughter. I mean, I think it would be great. The movie actually has a solid release date, June 12th of 2020. So it's already got an exact date. Another good summer release. I don't think it'll have much to fight against except maybe Wonder Woman. Or is that in July?
I think that's July, but even then, those are still two different demographics, I think, that you're going for. So, I think it'll be okay. Unless we get another big announcement of a horror movie coming out at that time, which I don't know how many are on the slate right now. So, like I said, not an expert place for me. Mm-hmm. But I love that Jordan Peele is getting into this space more. He's doing Twilight Zone, which I think is going to be amazing.
Unless it's really the most expensive April Fool's joke of all time.
That was my fan theory, and that would be amazing. That'd be fantastic. And then he's got is it The Others? Is that what that movie's called?
Yes.
And that trailer just, oh my god, that was creepy and terrifying, and I loved every moment of it. So, and he already did Get Out, so he's got this horror mind, and we know it's brilliant. We know what he's capable of. So yeah, I'm fully excited to see this thing. I don't know where it's going to take me, but I'm here for the ride.
Yeah, and I mean, just from the look of that, these 4 movies that we've listed off, we've got a lot to talk about and a lot of movies to see because I'm probably going to see all of these. I'm excited for the James Bond movie. I'm down to go see a new Candyman. Obviously, Guardians 3 is going to be great, and we all want to go see Dark Phoenix. At least I want to go see Dark
I
Phoenix.
definitely want to see Dark Phoenix. It's the most I've been interested in any of the X-Men movies before release, like by miles.
Yeah.
Logan had me on board because I love the Old Man Logan comic storyline, but I also didn't see as much promotion for that. It's just at a time where I was busy and hadn't caught wind of all of the trailers and stuff like that, so I didn't know much about it until it was already about a week out, and then I was like, oh, Old Man Logan being a where do I go? How can I see this? But so coming into this, Dark Phoenix, I love Jean. She's one of my favorite X-Men characters. So it puts me over the top. I want to go see that. And I'm going to see Bond 25 opening night because it's just who I am.
You have to.
Yeah, it's just who I am.
And I mean, I'm definitely going to be in line for those movies too. But until they get release dates for all of these, and until I'm ready to sit down in the theater with popcorn in hand, that'll be all for this week's episode of Let's Talk Movies. Remember, leave a comment down below. Let us know what you thought of the movies we talked about, if you're interested in any of them, or if you just think all of them are trash and you don't want to see any of them. But that'll be all for this. We will see you guys again next Friday for another episode of Let's Talk Movies. See ya.